Alright, Mr. Gatekeeper here. We got Mr. Blackhawks. It's called a Steel Rod DX250. It's actually a Palomar. I don't know why Steel Rod is written on it. Steel Rod. You know what I'm saying. Some of these names, I'll tell you what. Well, anyway, bud, your complaint was it didn't have no modulation. Pretty much it seemed like your complaint was it was dead keying real high and wasn't swinging. There was no swing, there's no modulation, as you put it. And one of the main reasons why that was, and I'm telling you, brother, you are very, very, very lucky that these transistors are not blown, or at least one of them. The bias circuit was damaged. This transistor, now the way they do these amplifiers are confusing. I'll be honest with you, I don't even completely understand the way this bias circuit is set up. I have drew a diagram of it. This is the one amplifier. If you look at the 350s, they have almost I believe five general purpose transistors in these things, man. They're unlike any other amplifier I've seen in this type of arena. But basically, this transistor had failed, and in conjunction with that failing, you had about 1.8 volts going directly to the base of the transistors, and you're very lucky, man, you didn't kill them. Even just manually keying the box and checking to see what the bias voltage was heating up the box like within 10 to 15 seconds, and I had to get off real quick and let it cool down. So after I replaced that and then adjusted it, what I went ahead and did to be safe is I went ahead and adjusted this down to a B bias conduction angle. So instead of pulling about 100 milliamps per transistor, you're pulling about 50 milliamps per transistor, so it's at about 0.38 volts. I just want to do that because there should be, to run this at full AB bias mode, this pass transistor they're using right here pretty much as a regulator, but pretty much as a pass transistor also to handle the current. This thing will get blistering hot. On all the 350 models, I've always had to add heat sinks to these because I've had these fail a good bit just from getting overheated. But I went ahead and lowered the conduction angle to a class B so it wouldn't be getting as hot. And I went ahead and did a couple other things that I usually do to this box. I went ahead and did a power wire upgrade for you. It looks like the fuse that was in there was broken. I don't even have the front. I don't know if you sent it and it got lost in the midst of things. But pretty much this is what you were working with right here. I went ahead and did a power wire upgrade for you and added you some fresh wire and a good grommet back here, a strain relief, and went ahead and soldered that in the circuit for you. I went ahead and thickened up the solder right here all the way to the back of the transformer to kind of help that current flow from here to the transformer, because it was just relying on paper thin copper sheet paper thin from here to there. I always like to thicken that up, and just for the heck of it I went ahead and thickened up the solder too, from this is your output of your transformer all the way to where it flows to the relay, just to give that a little bit more of strength. For the amount of watts this thing does, it probably don't matter, but just to be safe, that's something I do to these boxes anyway. And there was also a resistor that I had to replace, which is this one right here, this 680. And after doing all that and retuning the output, which I had to add another, I had to take away 20 picofarad. This thing was only doing about 120 watts, man. And it's not a big output amplifier. It just isn't. It could be due to the these Motorola's maybe have dropped their gain value pretty low. It could possibly be that, but you can get the 250 that is advertised on the front out of it if you drive it a little harder, but you're pretty much looking at about 150 watt amplifier, somewhere around there. So you're not going to get monster watts out of this thing by no means. Some of these amps actually came with 2290s and 2879s. Those versions of the amplifiers will do a lot more than these versions right here. Alright, so here's what we're looking at, the 250 watt slug. Okay. We're just driving the bench radio in it, 4 watts, RMS. It's dead key in 1 watt, swinging the 4, and it peaks around 18 to 20 watts peak. Okay. Go. So right there, about 175 watts. Here's your input tune, 5 watt slug in reverse. Do dia, do dia, do dia. So right there, about 175. And here's your RMS. And by the way, we are reading the top scale. Okay. Do. So about 75 watts. Do. A little bit under 75 watts. So there you go. If you put it on low, you're looking at right at 50 watts and a little bit under 150. Don't take a lot of from the top end. So there you go, man. And I do want to say, brother, I know you had to wait a good bit on this amplifier, and I do highly apologize for that. I want to thank you so much for hanging in here with me, man. And I know you got this amplifier for free because it wasn't working when you got it, or shall I say it wasn't working correctly. And it mainly was just a bias issue. Something had went wrong with the bias circuit, and I had to replace the general purpose transistor. Then I went ahead and adjusted the bias, because even after that's another thing, even after I replaced this general purpose transistor, it was still sitting at like 0.75 volts. That's where it was sitting at, and that's just too hot, man. But I've seen these amps, and it seems like every single time I put one of these on the bench, they're always pretty dang hot, up there around 0.75 volts or 0.72 or something like that. I like to put it down below 0.7. It's all about the amperage at this point when you're dealing with bias and the BJTs, of course, but it's all going to correspond with the voltage that you're running at. And the neat thing about these, though, is these are regulated biased. So that's pretty cool. You can fluctuate your voltage. It's not going to bother the bias circuit. But it's definitely a unique approach the way they put these together, no doubt about it. Alright, man, we'll get the top put on here and get this thing packaged up and get it out to you, man. You got a free amp, and now you got a free working amp. Well, you'll have to put just a tad bit of cash into it, but not much. And I was glad to get it back working for you, brother. And again, thanks for hanging in there with me. Your Bud, the gatekeeper, out here around the northeast end of Georgia. I'm off to the sack, y'all. Bye, bye, bye.